Kellyanne Conway, the cases for and against Trump. Donald J. Trump shocked the world in 2016 by winning the White House and becoming the first president in U.S. history with no prior military or government experience. He upended the fiction of electability pushed by pundits, the news media and many political consultants, which arrogantly projects who will or will not win long before votes are cast. He focused instead on capturing a majority in the Electoral College, which is how a candidate does or does not win. Not unlike Barack Obama 8 years earlier, Mr. Trump exposed the limits of Hillary Clinton's political inevitability in personal likability, connected directly with people, ran an outsider's campaign taking on the establishment, and tapped into the frustrations and aspirations of millions of Americans. Some people have never gotten over it. Trump derangement syndrome is real. There is no vaccine and no booster for it. Gossiped in their social media bubbles and comforted within self-selected communities suffering from sameness, the afflicted disguise their hatred for Mr. Trump as a righteous call for justice or a solemn love of democracy and country. So desperate is the incessant cry to "get Trump" that millions of otherwise pleasant and productive citizens have become naggingly less so. They ignore the shortcomings, failings and unpopularity of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris and abide the casual misstatements of an administration that says the border is secure, inflation is transitory, sanctions are intended to deter Vladimir Putin from invading Ukraine and they will shut down the virus. They've also done precious little to learn and understand what drives the 74 million fellow Americans who were Trump-Pence voters in 2020 and not in the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The obsession with Mr. Trump generates all types of wishful thinking and projection about the next election from both his critics, he will be indicted, and his supporters, is he still electable? None of that is provable, but this much is true. Shrugging off Mr. Trump's 2024 candidacy or writing his political obituary is a fool's errand. He endures persecution and eludes prosecution like no other public figure. That could change, of course, though that cat has 9 lives. At the same time, it would also be foolish to assume that Mr. Trump's path to another presidency would be smooth and secure. This is not 2016, when he and his team had the hunger, swagger and scrappiness of an insurgents campaign and the history be damned happy warrior resolve of an underestimated, understaffed, under-resourced effort. It's tough to be new twice. Unless what's old can be new again. Mr. Trump's track record reminds Republican primary voters of better days not that long ago, accomplishments on the economy, energy, national security, trade deals and peace deals, the drug crisis and the southern border. He can also make a case, one that will resonate with Republicans, about the unfairness and hypocrisy of social media censorship and alleged big tech collusion, as recent and ongoing revelations show. Mr. Trump, as a former president, can also be persuasive with Republican primary voters and some independents in making a frontal attack on the Biden administration's feckless management of the economy, reckless spending, and lack of urgency and competence on border control and crime. Accomplishing this will not be easy. Mr. Trump has both political assets to carry him forward and political baggage holding him back. For Mr. Trump to succeed, it means fewer insults and more insights, a campaign that centers on the future, not the past, and that channels the people's grievances and not his own, and a reclamation of the forgotten Americans who ushered him into the White House the first time and who are suffering economically under Mr. Biden. A popular sentiment these days is, "I want the Trump policies without the Trump personality." It is true that limiting the name-calling frees up time and space for persuasion and solutions. Still, it may not be possible to have one without the other. Mr. Trump would remind people that it was a combination of his personality and policies that forced Mexico to help secure our border, structured new trade agreements and renewed manufacturing, mining and energy economies, pushed to get COVID vaccines at warp speed, engaged Kim Jong-un, played hardball with China, routed ISIS and removed Qasem Soleimani, Iran's most powerful military commander, forced NATO countries to increase their defense spending and stared down Mr. Putin before he felt free to invade Ukraine. When it comes to Donald J. Trump, people see what they wish to see. Much like with the audio debate a few years ago, do you hear Laurel or Yanni? What some perceive as an abrasive, scornful man bent on despotism, others see as a candid, resolute leader unflinchingly committed to America's interests. The case against Trump 2024 rests in some combination of fatigue with self-inflicted sabotage, fear that he cannot outrun the mountain of legal woes, the call to move on, a feeling that he is to blame for underwhelming Republican candidates in 2022, and the perception that other Republicans are less to blame for 2022 and have more recent records as conservative reformers.